All right, thank you very much to Phil with that weather update. Now, are you one of many South Africans who live in housing schemes or perhaps townhouses or any other apartment where the use of land and responsibilities are shared? If so, do you know about the Community Schemes Ombud Service Act number 9 of 2011? This act compels you from January 2017 to pay a monthly fee to the newly formed Community Scheme Ombud Service. It's a bit of a technical issue here, but of course quite a necessary discussion for us this morning. We're joined in our studios here by Persson. She is the Managing Director at Lumic Property Consultants. Michelle, good morning to you. It's good to have you with us here.
Good morning, Pelisa. Thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you so much for coming through. Just before we get into the technicalities of this act, talk to us about community scheme and of course this Community Scheme Ombud Service.
Okay, well, the Community Scheme Ombud Service, which is also known as CSOS, came into being on the 7th of October, and it's a regulatory body for all community schemes, which is actually very, very good. And as managing agents, we're very excited about it. The reason being is that there was never a regulatory body for these schemes before. And so many trustees and directors and managing agents took advantage of this. The only dispute resolution that there was to go to court, which is obviously very costly and a very, very lengthy process as well. So trustees, directors and managing agents knew that they could get away with a lot and face no consequences. The CSOS has now come into being to regulate community schemes and to do a very fair dispute resolution that is very reasonably costed. So it's a very exciting development in the industry.
All right. So now if I've got any dispute with the body corporates or the trustees, I can go to this Community Schemes Ombud Service.
That's correct, yes. Whether it be between trustees and owners, or owners and managing agent, or managing agent and trustees, anyone involved in the scheme that has disputes can take it to the Ombudsman, and they will be dealing with things right across the board, from financial to governance to levies. Anything that you have a problem with, they'll deal with.
Yeah, now talking about the levy, Michelle, the Act requires payment from every unit within that complex. What does this payment do, or where does it go to?
Okay, so the payment goes directly to CSOS. We would be billing it to our complexes monthly on their levy statements, and then we pay it over to CSOS on a quarterly basis. They obviously need the money to be able to operate
function, yeah.
And to function, correct.
But then how does it work now? Because as it is now, like if you live in a complex or a townhouse or an estate, there are levies that are paid every month. Are you still going to pay your normal levies plus this one that the Act requires?
Correct, yes. You will pay your normal levy that would be worked out on your income and expenditure for that scheme for the year, and then additionally there will be the legal requirement to pay the CSOS levy, and that is if you have a levy of 500 Rand or less, you are exempt from paying a levy to CSOS. Between 501 Rand and 2,500 Rand, you'll pay 2% of that value. So if your levy, for example, is 1,000 Rand, the first 500 Rand of that is exempt, and then 2% on that means you'll be paying a 10 Rand monthly levy to them.
All right. So I do know that property consultants such as yourself, of course, will be collecting these payments, right?
That's correct. We will bill it on their monthly levy statement and we'll pay it over to CSOS quarterly.
All right. But talk to us about the common problems that might have prompted, of course, this amendment to the legislation.
There are so many problems in sectional title. It's such close living, and your complaints range from cats roaming common property and making a mess on it, to dogs barking, to unhappiness perhaps with levies that might be too high, to
personal behavior like late night parties and such.
Exactly, noise is a huge thing. Yeah. Anything that's behavioral or financial in a complex comes into play.
All right. And there's a prescribed levy formula, of course, like you've just elaborated for us just now. But how does it work? Are there perhaps exclusions, maybe like in terms of our senior citizens?
The exclusions are that if your levy is 500 Rand or less, you are exempt. And then the other exclusion is that if your take-home income is 5,500 Rand or less, you can apply for exemption only for the application fees or adjudication fees. You can also make application to the Ombudsman, who would then have a look at your personal circumstances and decide whether they could exempt you or not.
All right. So if you feel like it's too much for you to pay,
Correct.
so you can be exempted from that. It doesn't really matter what the circumstances are.
You would have to do a full application to CSOS, which includes cash flow, monthly expenses, income, etc., and then they would make a decision on that.
All right. So the Act came into effect on the 7th of October.
Correct.
But do body corporates and trustees know about the Act as to inform the homeowners maybe?
I think there's quite a lot of news around it, and obviously it's your managing agent that needs to educate you. So we are trying to educate our clients. It came in, as you say, on the 7th of October, so it's very new.
It's fairly
so
new.
we're all still trying to get into it.
All right, but what happens? Are there offices provincially, or there's just one office that is located in Johannesburg?
They've got one office in Johannesburg currently, which is based in Sandton, and then they have offices regionally as well. But they'll obviously try and open more offices and grow with time.
All right. Now, let's leave it at that, Michelle, but thank you so much for breaking this down for us.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you
so much.
The
There you have it. That's Michelle Persson. She's the Managing Director at Lumic Property Consultants. So if you're one of those South Africans living in a housing scheme, a townhouse, apartment or a complex, do know that as from the 7th of October, there's a new act that requires that you pay a certain amount of money. Well, we're taking a break. Morning Live continues after this.